going on, everybody? And welcome back to the Hangout Spot, where you already know it's Real Talk Sports Talk. Live from my man cave. It's your boy, Johnny. And let's talk boxing, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of boxing right now. I mean, you got a lot of good fights coming up. You got fighters that are now fighting on the different platforms. You got streaming platforms now that are coming into the picture and are starting to stream fights now that Showtime and HBO are out of the picture. You got Jake Paul. Obviously, he's a staple in what's going on right now. But there's just so many things to go over that I can't do it by myself. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to have a special guest on with me today, a guy that I've known for a bunch of years. He'll probably forget more boxing than I know. But he actually trains fighters. He trains amateur fighters. He's dabbled in and is assisted with training some pro fighters as well. He also trains beginners that come into his gym. He trains out of Lionheart Boxing Gym in Miami, Florida. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce my boy, Marcelo, a.k.a. Coach All Day. What's going on, my brother? How are you?
What's going on, my brother Johnny? Everything is great, man. Blessed. How about yourself?
Everything is good, man. I mean, I can't complain, man. I mean, a lot going on in the boxing world. But thank you for joining me today, man. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me on, the Hangout Spot. You have a beautiful setup. I see your whole setup. You're doing an amazing job with what you're doing in a short time, Johnny. So keep going strong, and it's an honor to be on your platform. So thank you.
My brother, I appreciate that. And just so you know, you're actually the first official guest to hang out with me at the Hangout Spot and talk that boxing.
It makes me even more special. So, definitely appreciate it. You got that all day love. That's for sure.
All day, brother, all day. So listen, man, without further ado, there's a lot going on in the boxing world right now. Too much for me to discuss on my own. So I kind of wanted to get your take on a few things. First and foremost, in a couple of weeks, we got our first professional boxing match that's going to stream on Amazon Prime. Who would have ever thought that we'd be talking about Amazon Prime as a platform to show professional fighters, right? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you and I both, grew up watching, Showtime boxing and HBO boxing. And now they're both gone, and now here we are, Amazon Prime. Netflix is getting into the picture. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But in 2 weeks, March 30th, we got the 154-pound WBO championship fight between the champion Tsyzu against Keith Thurman. Keith one-time Thurman. And then in the co-main event, we have Romero, who's going to face off against Isaac Pitbull Cruz, which I think that's going to be a pretty entertaining fight. But before we get into that one, I'm a little curious about this whole main event, because when I first heard about it, I'm thinking to myself, we all know that Tsyzu, I like Tsyzu. I think he's come a long way. I think he's a hell of a fighter. I like his fighting style. Obviously, his style makes for very, very good fights. But then you got Keith Thurman, who at one point, former welterweight champion of the world, undefeated guy. He lost to Manny Pacquiao, came back, beat Mario Barrios. But we haven't seen him in a couple of years. So my thing was, how is it that this guy comes out of nowhere, right? Well, I'm not necessarily going to say nowhere, but 2-year hiatus, right? And it kind of makes you think, like, what's going on here? Is it the politics of boxing? I mean, why are there sanctioning bodies if we're going to allow a guy to just sit out for 2 years and automatically skip over everybody else and get a title shot? What was your thoughts on that?
Well, you know how boxing is. First of all, we don't have one uniformed sanctioned body. We have 4, right? The WBO, WBA, WBC, IBF, right? So the fact that we have 4 different champions within the same division, that creates a lot of chaos, a lot of, and money is part of it. As far as Keith Thurman, he has a name, so he's been inactive 100%. He's been inactive. He, after the loss to Pacquiao, I think it was only the Barrios fight, I believe, is the only fight after Pacquiao, if I'm not mistaken, right? So inactivity with him is definitely going to be an issue. As far as him getting an opportunity, he's still a dangerous fighter. He's still a name, obviously. And Tsyzu, I agree with you. He's leveled up so much as a fighter. So I think it's just a good opportunity for Tsyzu to level up as far as opponents. Keith Thurman is no joke. One time is for a reason. So he has power. He still has a lot of skill, but between ring rust and he is a little bit older now, I'm curious to see how this fight goes, but the fact that he does have a name, and how boxing is, a lot of politics. So I'm not overly surprised that he's getting a shot.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. Obviously, there's a ton. There's four sanctioning bodies. It's a lot different than what it was when we were growing up. But Tsyzu is a natural 154-pound fighter, and Keith Thurman. I think this is his first time fighting at 154, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. I believe so. I think he might have had one other fight. I'm not 100% sure, but he's definitely not a natural 154. Tsyzu is, without a doubt.
So what do you think about him moving up to fight the bigger guy? I mean, I know Keith Thurman's always been a big puncher at 147, but now this is a totally different animal.
It is, and I think it's a big risk for both. Because even for Tsyzu, it's a risk because his head movement is not the best. I'm sure you've seen a lot of Tsyzu fights, and he has crazy power, but his defense, even though it's gotten better, but it's still a little shaky. And Keith Thurman, once again, he only has one loss to Manny Pacquiao. It's not like he lost to a bum or to a scrub. He lost to Manny Pacquiao. So very dangerous fighter. But I think Tsyzu is catching Thurman at the right time for the two things that I said there: ring rust, and he's older. So I think his power will carry over to 154 because it's a division up from 47. But I do have Tsyzu winning, and quite honestly, I think by knockout.
Really? Yeah, it's funny you say that because that was the first thing that came to my mind when I heard about this fight. I mean, Tsyzu's a big puncher at that division, and we're talking about, I think that the 2-year layoff is going to hurt Keith more than it's obviously going to help him. He has to be respected, like you said. I mean, he does have a name. He does have that one punch knockout power. But I don't see how he wins this fight.
In boxing, you never know. You know how it is in boxing. It takes one punch, especially when you have power. But I fully agree with you on that end. I think Tsyzu, once again, he's younger. He's very strong. He's pretty quick. He's not quick with his feet, but there's a difference between quick and fast, right? He's quick. He's not fast. So, and his defense has been improving. So I think it's gonna be a closer fight than people think. And in boxing, like I said, you never know. But I do agree with you. I do think Tsyzu will win, and more than likely by knockout or stoppage.
Absolutely. And to your point earlier with the name, I think Keith Thurman. I mean, if you're going to have, the first fight on this platform, it's always a good idea to have, at least one really big name.
100%.
So that makes perfect sense. But I honestly, I really think that that this Rolly Romero, Isaac Pitbull Cruz fight, based on styles, I think that this can probably steal the show because from what I'm looking at, it has a tendency to be, two guys that are punchers, they're relentless guys. I mean, we know that Rolly Romero, I mean, people clown around about Romero, obviously, but I mean, the kid can punch, without a doubt. And he can also sell a fight. That we know.
Yes.
Pitbull is all business. I mean, if there's ever been a fighter that has earned his nickname, I mean, I look at Pitbull, he's like a dog. He's like a little dog.
Yeah.
I mean, so I mean, what do you expect out of this one, man? Because I'm thinking this one's going to be fireworks.
Man, that's a wild card, brother. Because once again, I'm not the biggest Rolly fan. I think that I think his the way that he is, his personality sells fights. He's very loud. He's very, but you know what? He is very talented as well. Does he have talent? Absolutely. But Pitbull is a whole other animal. I don't think I know he faced Tank as far as Rolly, but this guy Pitbull, like you said, he earned his nickname because he's little in height, but man, he comes at you the whole time, pressure, like a true Mexican style, which is a lot of pressure, power and pressure, and he's your typical strong Mexican fighter, and I think he will come out victorious, Pitbull.
Yeah, I think so, man. But I'm expecting fireworks out of that.
Yeah, that should be fireworks without a doubt. That's going to be an explosive fight. So it's going to be exciting. Both fights should be a fight, because they both have power. Think about both fights. All four guys, one's at 135, the other one's at 154, but at their respective divisions, they both could, lay you out. So I'm excited for that card, man. There's a lot of good fights coming up, but that's a great card on Amazon.
Yep, great. Yeah, Amazon, right? Great point about all of them being power punchers, man. It's gonna be an entertaining night of boxing. But speaking of entertainment, let's switch gears a little bit because I'm really curious to get your take on this whole Ryan Garcia situation, right? Because I know we've had conversations off the record about this.
Yes.
So we all know Ryan Garcia. He's fighting Devin Haney on April 20th, Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York, for Devin Haney's WBC 140-pound title. These guys are familiar with each other, and they know each other in the amateurs, 3-3. So this is technically game 7 in the 7-game series, right? So winner take all. On paper, when I heard about it, I thought, okay, I mean, obviously Devin Haney has looked really, really good. The last couple. Well, I mean, not so good against Lomachenko. I actually had Lomachenko winning that fight. That's just me.
Me too.
But man, what a performance against Regis Prograis. Moving up weight at 140. And then you got Ryan Garcia, who you kind of figured he grew out of 135 a long time ago. This would be his natural weight. So I liked it on paper. And then the press conferences started, right? And we all know, again, I don't know if it's selling the fight or not. I mean, the way I look at it, I mean, I think that Ryan Garcia is going through some serious mental issues. I mean, the way he's been acting, I mean, it was pretty clear during, at least more clear than so, the second press conference that he was either intoxicated or he was on something. I mean, I firmly believe that. But, and then
he wasn't himself.
He wasn't himself, right? I guess we could agree on that, right? And then after that, it was chaotic. I mean, that whole week, I mean, on social media, I mean, there was videos of his supposed death. And then he comes out the next day, they took his phone away, and it looked like he was filming it from some kind of a mental ward. I don't know. I'm just making assumptions here. And just drama after drama with this guy, to the point where I made a couple videos saying, I don't know if this guy is mentally stable enough to take a fight of this magnitude.
Right.
I mean, what do you think about what's been going on with Ryan Garcia?
I would definitely say odd, very strange, very odd, because he's always been such a, he's very Christian, right? He's very into his faith, into God, and I like Ryan Garcia. I would say I'm a fan of Ryan.
I do too.
So I like the way that he presents himself. I like the way, I like the way he goes about business, right? And he's very talented as well. He does have a lot of talent. I don't think he has the proper work ethic. That's part of the thing with Ryan, that, sometimes talented guys, that's in any sport, but in boxing is dangerous, or any combat sport, because if you could be talented, but if you don't train 100% the way that you should, you're going to be in danger, So as far as his mental state, because I know you brought up the interviews, that is bizarre. That is definitely weird. And I just saw some other things about him that he's talking about. He's gonna expose like other pedophiles, and I've seen like a lot of weird videos. I'm sure you've seen it as well, where he's talking about. So there's a lot of commotion going on, and that makes it very weird. Like, once again, I don't know what's going on with him as far as his mental state. Is he on drugs, alcohol? I sure hope not.
Well, he did admit
the fact that he's with Oscar De La Hoya is never that good, because we all know that he has some things going on, but. I still think the fight's going to happen. I do, and I do think that Haney is much more polished as a pro. I know they were 3-3 as amateurs, but if you look at the ladders where they've gone, as far as Haney and then Ryan Garcia, without a doubt, Haney. I don't like Haney too much. I'm not a Haney fan. I'm gonna be honest. I think he's a very talented fighter, but I think with Linares, he got caught. I don't know if you saw him when he fought Linares. And the Linares caught him with a shot that if he would have had about 30 more seconds, he would have laid him out. You know what I'm saying? So I saw he has, he doesn't have the best chin there. He lost to Lomachenko, in my opinion. I agree with you there. So while I do think that Haney's a very skilled fighter, he's what he does. He has a great work ethic. He trains very hard. He's very focused on the goals. And that's one thing that you probably saw as well in interviews, the way that Haney presents himself and the way that he speaks and what he's about is much more about business. Right. Unfortunately, Ryan Garcia was talking about, I drink and I smoke. And I'm like, oh man, like, it's not a good look. It makes it look like if you're not taking boxing as serious as you should, and boxing is just way too dangerous to not be fully engaged in what you have to do. So unfortunately, I do see Haney winning the fight by decision. People talk about he's gonna knock him out. I don't think he's gonna knock out Ryan Garcia. I do think if the fight happens, I do think that Haney's gonna win by decision. But I'm hopeful, that Ryan Garcia could muster up something, get his shit together, and come out victorious. He would need to win by knockout, though. I don't think he could beat Haney by decision. He would have to probably lay him out. He has the power for it. We've seen Haney get rocked before by Linares, and Ryan Garcia, I think, has a little more pop than Linares, maybe, especially the left hook, obviously. That's his main punch. But let's see. I'm hopeful for Ryan Garcia, but more than likely Haney with the win.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, my heart goes with Ryan, but Haney right now is just he's just a different fighter.
Yes.
And he's fought the tougher guys up to this point. I mean, you say the Linares fight, you're right, he got hurt, but I mean that was some great experience. I mean, you're in there with Linares, you're in there with Lomachenko, guys like Prograis. The resumes just don't match. You mentioned the left hook. Ryan can knock anybody out with that left hook, but the only bad part is everybody knows that. And Haney is very, very good at taking away what your biggest strength is. So that's my biggest concern. One thing that I did hear on social media, I was watching something on TV. I think it was Pro Box TV. Tim Bradley said that he thought that Ryan Garcia was more of a celebrity than a fighter. Do you agree with that?
In a sense, I could see why people would think that, because what has he really done in boxing? He hasn't. His resume, once again, he fought Tank. Aside from the Tank fight, he fought Campbell, right? Which he was like 39, 40 years old. He was older, so he does have more of a celebrity status than what his boxing resume would. If you're going to compare his boxing resume to his celebrity status, it's like this, right? But he's extremely talented. There's a reason why he is where he is. It's not just because of his celebrity status. If not, then you would have a whole bunch of other people doing the same thing. So I kind of agree, because he has a recognition of an elite fighter, and he's not an elite fighter at the moment, So he's more celebrity than boxing for now, but he has what it takes to get there if he's able to get his shit together.
It's funny because when you look at Ryan Garcia, he has all the makings physically to be a pay-per-view star.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought when he was young that he was going to be the next Oscar de la Hoya. But again, you can't compare resumes. I mean, Oscar was a legend. Oscar fought the best, won the titles, different. I mean, the Oscar de la Hoya from today is totally not the one
no.
that we grew up watching. And that's why when I talk to casuals and boxing fans that watch boxing today and see him there, I'm like, that wasn't the guy.
No,
that
he was passionate.
Right. He was a beast. No, he was absolutely a beast, but he was also marketable, right? He was good looking. He could fight, and he can sell fights. Right. I thought that, if Ryan Garcia, concentrated more on his craft and less on his cell phone, making videos, I mean, God knows, because the kid is going to sell. He sells fights.
Yeah.
He sells fights. He has a huge following. I made a video a couple weeks ago saying I didn't think the fight was going to happen because of all the mental issues. It appears now he's training. He's in Texas with Derek James.
Yeah.
He's training because he's still putting out videos every day.
Yes.
They aren't as crazy as the ones that we saw, 2 weeks ago. But so I agree. I think now the fight will happen, but I just don't think that he's mentally going to be stable enough to beat a guy like Haney. So, but I'm hoping the kid.
Unfortunately, I agree. Unfortunately,
yeah, I'm hoping the kid to get together. I'm looking forward to it. I was actually going to fly up and see that fight live, but the last thing I wanted to do was spend money to and then all of a sudden, the week prior he pulls out. Right. So that was always a fear in the back of my head, but I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it'll happen, and he'll surprise all of us. But one other thing that I wanted to touch on real quick that's a hot topic in the boxing world is this whole Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson announcement, right?
Yes.
And I think that we've had a little bit of conversation. Actually, I saw an interview that you did, a couple of weeks ago where you guys actually touched on that. Say what you want about Jake Paul. And I'm going to be the first one to say I'm not the biggest Jake Paul fan. I'm not, right? I'm a true boxing head. I mean,
you're a purist, a boxing purist.
I'm a purist, right? So I think what he brings to the table, at least I thought what he brought to the table was more circus, right? But man, you can't knock the guy for his business acumen, man. I mean, the guy from a business perspective is brilliant. And one thing I do want to say, though, although I'm not a fan, I respect his hustle. Because I didn't think in the beginning that he took boxing serious. At least he takes it serious. I mean, you can see the guy is training hard. He takes the sport serious. I mean, he's living the life of a professional fighter. Still not fighting guys, that can professionally pose a big threat. I mean, Tommy Fury is probably the biggest name or the most accomplished fighter. And, we all know the story behind Tommy Fury. I mean, I don't consider him a top contender at all. But anyhow, But I respect him for that. I do. And people are crapping on this, man. But how can you crap on something that realistically is going to sell? What was the first thing that came to your mind when you heard this announcement?
I thought it was a joke. I did, because they put all these fake posters of these fake fights. I was like, that's not gonna happen, So my initial reaction was no way. So now, real quick, let me touch bases on something you brought up, which is Jake Paul. I'm the same way. I am not a Jake Paul fan at all. When he first came out, when he first started boxing, I was like, listen, this guy's a joke. Like this, I would spar him right now, and I would all this shit, whatever. I'll destroy the guy. But same as you, not only business wise, as far as his business, he's absolutely doing amazing. He knows how to promote himself. He's doing strictly business, doing amazing. But you and I are, boxing purists. We love the sport. And that's something that I felt he didn't respect. But no, I fully agree. I think he has taken this 100% serious. He has trained his ass off. The way he looks now, he is a professional fighter. He's fighting like a professional fighter now. So the same thing. Kudos to him because you can't fake that. No matter how much money you have, you can't fake it. You have to train and you have to bust your ass to become an elite fighter. He's not an elite fighter, but to level up, So where he started to where he is now, nothing but props to the guy, So as far as the fight with Mike Tyson, I'm a little torn, man. I'm one of the biggest Mike Tyson fans you will find. That is my favorite all-time fighter, not just heavyweight, period. He is my favorite boxer ever, So I just don't think it's going to be a real fight, no matter how much they're going to try to promote it as, maybe they're going to have some tension. And I'm sure they're going to, once they do interview or press conferences, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of drama to build it up. They don't need it. It's too, Jake Paul has a huge following, Mike Tyson. But just to create, because there's so many people that think like what I'm saying, which is it's not going to be a real fight. I heard somewhere that they're going to use 18-ounce gloves and headgear. Now, if that's the case, now at the same time, I'm also hearing that they're trying to get it sanctioned, by the commission. So I'm hearing so many different stories that if it was a true fight, Johnny, right? Let's say if Mike Tyson, even at 58 years old, now maybe it's the fanism in me, maybe I'm not, but I think that even Mike Tyson at 58 years old, if he really goes in there to try to lay him out, I think he wins. I do, if it's a real fight. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's, I don't know. I hate to say this shit, that there's something going behind closed doors, but I just don't see how Mike Tyson would take a real fight. Like when he fought Roy Jones, he could have laid out Roy Jones in one round. He was helping him up. He caught him with one good shot. I know you've seen the fight. Mm-hmm. And he helped him. He held him on the shoulder a little bit, So I don't think it's the killer Mike Tyson that we're used to seeing. But it is Mike Tyson. One little screw loose, maybe something happens in the fight, and maybe he's like, "Fuck it," and lay him out. But unfortunately, I want to see it because, like I said, I'm such a Mike Tyson fan, but I'm very torn because I don't think he's gonna go all out on Jake Paul.
And that would be really disappointing for me, man. The last thing that I want for Mike's legacy and for my fandom as well, because I'm like you, I'm a big fan, is I don't want him to take a payday and take a dive. You mentioned the fight being sanctioned. You're right. They're working on that. As far as the headgear, Jake Paul, I actually saw a video today that Jake Paul put out on social media that trolled the fans that thought that was going to happen. So he said that's not going to happen.
So no headgear.
No headgear. That's what he said. He would never do that. He said he would never do that to disappoint his fans, whoever put that out. I mean, people that believe it or blah, blah, blah. I mean, he said a lot there. But so supposedly no headgear. They're going to try to sanction this thing. So I mean, listen, I've seen videos of Mike putting up on social media now and training, and like you said, at 57, he still looks good.
Brother, if he catches anybody, not just Jake Paul, if he catches anybody with a shot like that, he's gonna get laid out. So that's why I mean, think about who Mike Tyson has fought, from Lennox Lewis to Evander Holyfield and so on. Jake Paul, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want his legacy to turn into a YouTuber that did turn into a pro fighter, but I know I just don't want to see him losing to a Jake Paul. That would really mess with my head right there a little bit over here. So being such a Mike fan.
I'm with you there, brother. I'm with you. But getting back to the acumen, I mean, this will be the first fight on another streaming platform, Netflix. Who would have ever thought that we were going to see a fight stream live on Netflix? And he already announced on social media that there's not going to be any charge. So you're a Netflix customer, you'll get the fight for free. So I think that's pretty crazy. I just can't get over the fact that we're talking about fights.
Insane. It's insane.
Where are you, HBO and Showtime? Come back.
Yeah. Netflix, Amazon, no HBO, no Showtime. That is core. ESPN. No, ESPN still has fights. They do still have fights.
ESPN, yes. No, ESPN does. Top rank, mostly fights, and obviously UFC or whatever. But you got to give the man credit. I mean, he can sit there and say that he negotiated that first ever, Netflix. So if Netflix starts to become a big player in the boxing game, I mean, he was a trendsetter. So you got to give the guy props.
Huge revenue maker as well. So,
oh yeah. I mean, I'm hearing fans all over, on my channel and stuff like that, talking about how they don't want to see this. It's BS, but people are going to tune in, and that's what I keep telling everybody. It's going to sell.
People will watch. People are talking a lot of crap on the internet, and like, I'm not going to watch. BS. They're going to have a whole bunch of eyes on that fight, without a doubt. It's Mike Tyson. It's Jake Paul. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to happen.
Should be interesting, man. I can't wait. It's 10 days before my birthday, so hopefully I get a birthday present and I see an early birthday present and see Mike put this guy out.
Let's go, Mike. Iron Mike, baby. Let's go for your B-Day, even better.
All right, brother. So listen, man, this has been an absolute blast. But I mentioned earlier that that you obviously train beginner fighters, amateur fighters. You've also dabbled and assisted your brother-in-law, who is a pro boxing trainer. Champion, he's trained champions, Luis Ortiz or whatnot. Where can we locate? Where if people want to come in and they want to learn, how to fight the real way, all day boxing way, where could they find you?
100%. I appreciate that, Johnny. All day boxing. I'm in Miami, Florida. Like you had mentioned, I train right now all my clients at Lionheart Boxing Gym. It's down in Miami, Florida. I train from beginners, so a lot of people get intimidated. They feel like if I have no experience, that's okay. I train people from ground zero. I have experienced amateurs fighters as well. I put them in different shows, and definitely on my way to get I never had my own pro boxer, so I'm on my way to get those pros. And definitely, if you guys have Instagram at _ all day boxing all together, so to my guys, to my people and my whole followers, make sure that this man right here, Johnny, he's doing amazing with his show, The Hangout Spot. Make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe, The Hangout Spot, so he's doing amazing with his sports podcast and shows. So make sure you support the brother as well.
Listen, I appreciate the love, man. And you actually, I've seen a couple of videos of you dabbling in as an amateur as well, right?
I did. I fought amateur. I actually did turn pro. Things happen in life, I did turn pro. My first pro fight, I was gonna be at a casino down here in Miami, and unfortunately, about a week and a half before my fight, there was an issue with the promoter and the guy that was coming down from Atlanta. My opponent was coming down from Atlanta, and didn't work out. So then a few months later, I was gonna have once again my pro debut. But then my dad passed away, and once that happened, that just changed everything. So I shifted from fighter, and I went full time into wanting to train people. Because if you're gonna go into boxing, you gotta be all in. You can't be tippy-toeing left and right. So I took my passion. I'm not fighting, but I use it to definitely, for all my clients, so they could all level up. So.
My man, now listen, I remember 3 years ago when you started this journey. You've come a long way in 3 years, man. So I just want to congratulate you for that. And like I said, to my viewers, if you're in the Miami area and you want to learn how to throw down, come and check out my boy Marcelo, All Day Boxing at Lionheart Boxing Gym. And then as always, if you're new to watching my videos, please subscribe. This is how we do it up in the Hangout Spot, man. We're going to have special guests. We're going to talk that boxing. We're going to talk that Jets. I forgot to mention that Marcelo also shares the same misery with me because he's also a Jet fan. So, hey, what can I say, right?
It's Jets all day, baby. It's still Jets all day. We suffer, but damn it, man, I love that shit, and I rep with you. That's for life. So
misery loves company, my brother.
Yes,
so listen,
without a doubt.
Thank you for joining me.
Gave me the opportunity to be on your show. It's been a pleasure, brother. We'll definitely stay in touch. And you know, when you're in Miami, you know, you got to come down to the gym. So
Got you, man.
So
you gotta hold the mitts for me, man.
You already know. Come on through, and you know I got you, brother.
All righty, man. So anyway, this is your boy Johnny signing out from the Hangout Spot, and I will talk to everybody soon.